What's up? This is Rob Will, and you're listening to the Blazers Balcony with Brooke, Olzendam, and Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to the Blazers Balcony, presented by Spirit Mount Casino. Episode 164 of the Blazers Balcony, presented by Spirit Mount Casino. I am Casey Holdahl, joined by my co-host and friend, Brooke Olzendam, at her very nice home.
No, I like it when you say palatial
So I wanted to mix
estate.
up a little bit with her at her palatial estate in Southwest Portland. Brooke, how are you doing? But I meant to already mention this, and I don't want to derail us right off the rip.
Oh, no.
But has that graffiti on that fence been there
No,
a while?
new.
It's I couldn't remember if it was new or not.
I feel really bad, too, because that guy built that fence like a couple years ago by hand.
Oh, wow.
The owner of the home built
Well,
that.
they didn't do a very good job with the graffiti, so I think a quick power washing would definitely do the job. Even maybe actually some sanding probably would. But yeah, it's a little vulgar.
Yeah, trust me, it bothers me. Everything about my street bothers me right now, as we've talked about before, the potholes, but I think I said this on the last one. It is getting fixed next spring, summer.
There was news, yeah.
But that was kind of like disheartening. Like, really? Like, we're just like a family neighborhood. I don't know who came in and thought that was the right place to do that.
Yeah,
but
well, like I said, it's obviously someone who's not trained in the graffiti arts.
No, it wasn't what's the guy that does all the secret ones? The really talented
Banksy.
Yeah. It's not a Banksy.
Yeah. No, I mean we've got some accomplished taggers here in Portland as well, as I'm sure anyone who's driven up I-5 could tell you.
That's true.
Yeah, I always have like little favorites. Someone actually recently got busted, and I've recognized their name, and I was like, oh yeah, I know who that is. The one that was in my neighborhood for a while I haven't seen in a while was Gulchwater. And then they did some.
His name is Gulchwater?
Gulchwater, yeah.
Interesting.
And it would never be all that stylized. It would just be like in a random spot. It would say Gulchwater.
He just like was promoting himself.
Yeah, it was a tag, and I'm not like super attuned to the graffiti community, but there's like
seems like you
there's
are.
like tagging, and with tagging is more just like writing your little thing, and like there's some various applications to that, and then like more like broader graffiti is kind of like more artistic elements of it.
No, this was lazy.
Yeah, so that was lazy. Yeah, and they were obviously mad at somebody, and
I don't. Yeah. I was hoping it would be gone by now, but I don't know.
I bet if we already had our little false spring where it was nice for like a week, and now it's going to rain again for a month and a half. So I bet like through that month and a half that it'll wash off.
I hope so.
The first thing I thought, I was like, what? Did Theo see that? He should be subjected to such vulgarity and images of. That's funny.
No, it bothers me. But I mean, now that you just said that, maybe I should start trying to take it down. I can sand.
You could do that.
I could do that,
but I mean, it's not your fence though. So
it's right next to my.
It is right next
estate.
to your palatial estate, though. It is hurting your property values.
It is. But so we got to get the street fixed, get the graffiti taken down, and then this place is going to go like hotcakes.
Yeah. No. They're ready to hit the market.
I don't know where I'm going. But.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. So your Trailblazers in the postseason.
Woo!
Yeah. The playoff drought not yet over. Hopefully it will be. But the postseason drought, if you wanted to call it that, is now over. Your Portland Trailblazers finishing the 2025-26 season with a 42-40 record to finish 8th place in the Western Conference, tied with the LA Clippers, but getting the tiebreaker versus the Clippers by way of a better conference record after splitting the season series 2-2. The Trailblazers winning the last two games versus the Clippers, obviously the game in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, and then following that up on Friday, with a victory versus the Clippers that really put them in the catbird seat, as it were, for getting 8th place in the Western Conference. Victory in that game, 116-97, in a game that I feel like really showed some growth for this team. I think I feel like that's about as best as the team has played this season. For me, the really encouraging part was the fact that they built a lead and then gave up the lead, and then were able to build it back, which I feel like that's been something for this team throughout the season, and particularly earlier in the season, but for the season in general, where that's been an issue at times, where they've built leads and then the other team has come back and then they almost lose going away. Not the case versus the Clippers on Friday. The Blazers, as I mentioned, get that victory, 116-97, to basically at that point they had won the tiebreaker. So once they tied the season series at 2-2, Then it's the next tiebreakers are division if you're in the same division, but obviously the Clippers and the Blazers are not the same division. So then the fourth tiebreaker is conference record. The Blazers with a better conference record. As we talked about, I think on the last show, it was unfortunate how many games they lost in the Eastern Conference this year, but their Western Conference record was pretty dang good, and that's the one that mattered for the tiebreaker. So the Blazers getting 8th. Of course, they still had to finish out the season with a victory versus the Kings on Sunday night, which they were able to do. The Trailblazers finishing their 2025-26 regular season with a 122-110 victory versus the Sacramento Kings to put themselves in a position where they will now face the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix on Tuesday in the 7-8 matchup of the 2026 SoFi Play-In Tournament.
Whew.
Yeah, boy, that was probably a little more than I needed to get out there in the first few minutes.
No,
but
very
I
informative.
wanted to get us on the right footing. So again, the Blazers I think finished out the season going 13-7 in their last 20 games. They lost both those games on the road versus the Nuggets and the Spurs. Nuggets game they probably should have won.
Yeah,
that was unfortunate. Those are the ones that really make me mad when we don't win those ones. And I was already in a pissy mood that night anyways.
You were
because
very pissy that night.
They didn't give me a seat. And I was like, I've only been coming here for 18 years, guys. Like, I'm literally the only person from Portland other than Brooke who is covering this game. Like,
well, I did God's work because I said you could sit by me after all that happened.
Yeah. And you were like, the fact that Brooke was even willing to sit next to me when I'm already in like my spun up Casey, like, pissed off mood.
Yeah.
Really goes to show how good of a friend
charitable
and coworker you are, Brooke. Exactly. So Trailblazers don't win either one of those games, unfortunately, but then they return home to take care of business to ensure that they would finish 8th. The most wins, I believe, since the 2021-22 season.
That sounds about right.
I'm going to look that up real fast. I should have already had the Trailblazers basketball reference page up anyways.
Well, I'll throw in another stat that's fun that we said on the post-game show, and you probably already saw it on social, but Toumani Camara starting in every single game.
All 82 games. Shout out to Toumani, the Belgian Iron Man, as it were.
Yes, and I loved it because I got the opportunity to say Al Farouk Aminu last night on the post-game show because it was the last time the Blazers did that. It was Chief and was it Mo Horkless? No, it was Mason Plumlee. So that's the last time to any Blazer, and they did in the same season, played all 82, and I think it was started all 82. Did Mason start every single game? Okay, yeah. So that they started every game. So that was just fun. I love it when we get to kind of go down memory lane or something random like
back.
that.
Yeah.
And I was like, Chief. Oh, I did not realize I'd be talking about Chief tonight in the postgame show, but it was awesome. So congrats to Toumani. And he's told me, I've asked him about it. Like, is that something that you take pride in? And he said, yeah, that's absolutely something I take pride in. Like, it's a goal. It's been a goal of mine to play every single game and have perfect attendance. And I asked him, I go, did you have perfect attendance when you're like a kid in school? He's like, oh, no.
I say, as a young man living in Miami, there's no way that Toumani went to every single class. He
giggled when I asked that. I just wanted, I thought he would have fun with that. And he's like, no, I definitely did not. But this, I definitely take pride in. So that's just something I wanted to throw in while you're looking for that other stat.
So
that's pretty cool.
Is the most wins since the 2020-21 season. That was the shortened season. The Blazers were 42-30 in that game. The Blazers finished with 42 wins this season. So technically as many wins as they had in 2021, though granted that was with fewer games and they were 12 games over 500 that season. That must have been the COVID year. But before that, the most wins since the 2018-19 season. So
wow, that's awesome.
And again, a team that exceeded expectations this year. Even before the season, they were not expected to finish, I think, better than 500. I think their over-under was like 35.5, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around the kind of high 30s. And they well surpassed that, even with, kind of the injuries they had this year. Obviously, the coaching situation changing on the second day of the season, the fact that they were able to kind of steady themselves under Thiago's leadership and, made a very good season out of it and are now in a position to potentially get into the postseason for the first time since the 2021 season, 2020, 2021. That's hard.
That is hard.
Say.
I know.
You know what season I'm talking about, though.
We know.
So very a good way to wrap up the year for the Trailblazers. And, last year they were able to stack some wins late in the season, which was great, but the team wasn't going anywhere. This year they were able to get it done down the stretch when they needed to in a situation where they were still playing for something. And that's fun, and it's nice to be back in a situation where the Blazers are playing for something meaningful at this point in time in the season. I've actually been quite heartened by what I've seen from fans in terms of the discussion of, do we want to make the playoffs this year because we'll have to give our pick to the Bulls if we do? And, I understand kind of both reasonings for that, but I feel like the majority of fans have been like, no, let's make the playoffs. And that's even in Portland where people love the draft. Again, I think this team has kind of sparked some enthusiasm in the city. And I think that for an organization that is accustomed to winning after missing the postseason for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons, people in Portland are ready to get back there. And so now the Blazers have a chance to put themselves in a spot to get back to the playoffs. But if nothing else, they are in the postseason versus the Suns. That game on Tuesday on Amazon Prime. Unfortunately, the local broadcasts being put out to pasture when it comes to playoffs these days, which I don't think people realized until last night that
I think you're right.
Local broadcasts don't get to do first round anymore. That's always been the case. People were like, well, yeah, but it's national now. It's like, but it's always been national.
Well,
but you could just
did the first round.
What's it called?
Side by side
broadcasts. And now they can't do that.
No, it's. Well, I don't want to.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
Well, I mean, it's just a bummer. Like, we talked about it last podcast that it's just you look forward to this and you're with the team the whole entire season, every game, and then you get to the postseason where you want to cover that because that's that was the goal all year, and then you don't get to, and that's okay. It's just I'm not making it about me, but I do feel like selfishly very
of course.
sad about it. I like to be there. I like to cover it, and that's just not the way it is anymore. I just remember, I was spoiled my first couple of years, when we'd go to the playoffs every year, made it to the Western Conference Finals that one year, and we got to cover it. And then I would also do some sort of covering for, the second round.
Right,
And then we talked about Facebook Live, all that. We did all that stuff. And it was so exciting and so fun. And so to get back there, it's like, I want to be part of it. But I'm still going to be rooting. I just got a text about going to Jackie's for the watch party, which I will do. And I'll go for a little bit, and I just want to see everybody, excited in this congregating together and for one common cause. So I'll go. But it's, I can't talk about it.
What about the games themselves, though? I mean, it's been nice to see the team, again, perform when they needed to,
Absolutely.
And I think that's been one of the things that people have been wanting to see. It's like, you beat some of the teams at this point in time in the season that really aren't playing for a whole lot of anything. But what about the games that you really have to win against teams that are really still playing for something? What's going to happen in those games? And I think the Blazers answered that question. Obviously getting the 2 versus the Clippers is important. Getting the job done versus the Kings, that's a game where you just assume you're going to win that one. But
they put up a
you
fight.
Can get jumped up on it, and again, we've seen that from the Blazers at times this season as well. So the fact that they didn't allow that to happen again shows a certain level of growth, and I think the team is just a little locked in right now. I think they've had a very definitive goal that they've been playing for the last 20 games, and I've really appreciated that Tiago and the rest of the coaching staff have talked about that. They haven't done the whole, every game's important and no game is one more important than the other. But no, these are more important games for us, and we're going to treat them as such. And I think it's really the team has responded to that, and it's been fun basketball to watch. They've improved greatly defensively in the last month of the season.
Big time.
They've won quite a few games. And they're getting healthy now. Shaedon Sharp returns to the lineup. It sounds like Veit returned to the lineup in the last game versus the Kings. It sounds like maybe Jeremy might be back for
that would be
postseason.
Awesome.
We'll hear the injury report for Tuesday's game versus the Suns here in the next 5 or 6 hours. But Tiago seemed to imply that he was improving and might be available at some point in time in the not-too-distant future. So that's great news as well. So you got a Blazer team that's been playing better basketball, has really seemed to kind of develop a rhythm. They've got guys coming back into the lineup that can help. And they're kind of sharp right now. Like it feels like they don't need to like up their game now, which is good because they need to win one game in their next two, preferably the first, in order to make the playoffs. So it seems to me like they are about as prepared for this as they're going to be. And again, I think you have to give credit to the coaching staff and to the players too for really accepting, like, we want to do this, like this means something to us. We want to make the playoffs. We want to make the play-in, and going out and getting that job done. Absolutely.
And I think I kind of maybe overused the term locked in the last couple of weeks, but it's truly how I was feeling, because that's what the term that Tiago said to me. He's like, we got to lock in. And I've been very adamant about that with our guys. Like, you're right. You hear the like coach speak, or, like it's a next game up or whatever, just got to just focus on the next one. And he's like, no, we know the importance of these games. Like, we talk about it. I talk about it with the guys. Like, this is I hate the term must win, but truly they were must wins.
Yeah.
And he's been very honest about that. Not just like, guys, let's go out. He's been like, this is a game that we have to be locked in for. So I asked, a majority of my like pregame interviews, I would say, how locked in are you? Because I wanted to hear it from the players. And, Jrue kind of laughed at me. He's like, we're locked in, because he's like,
Jrue is like, he did, as we're getting to the playoffs here, they're starting to do media a little more playoff-like, which is doing more podium stuff. And so Jrue goes to the podium last night, and every Jrue answer is like, yeah, I mean, sort of. Yeah. Like, are you more locked in? Not really. No.
I know. He's been to this rodeo many times.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was funny because, like, I had asked, I think, who was it? Someone else the game before, and like, no, we're really locked in because, Tiago said this and we had a great answer. And yeah, Jrue was like, yeah, we're locked in. I was like, okay, well, anyways, good luck. Kevin and Lamar with the lineups and tip next.
Yeah.
But but it's true. Like, that has been like the theme of the last couple of weeks. And you were right when you said that maybe the team earlier in the season, when they have a big lead and the opponent comes back and kind of makes a run, you might have seen them, I don't want to say folding, but like, oh no, this isn't.
Tighten up.
Yeah, tighten up and play to not lose. And then instead, they just had a response immediately. A lot of those times were, speaking of Jrue, like Jrue Holiday going like, okay, well, we got to get a big bucket here, and he hit a shot. And not just him, but I feel like he did that more than others at those times, because he's been in that situation before. And so it was really inspiring to watch. Like, okay, wow, this team is like, no, we're not letting this get away from us. That happened in the Clippers game. It also happened in the Sacramento game, where Sac came back in that third quarter. First of all, Sacramento came out guns blazing in that first quarter, and then the third quarter they kind of like started chipping at me. Tiago called a couple timeouts early in that quarter because it felt like things were getting out of hand. And what did they do? They just calmed themselves and built up a bigger lead. They again had a response. Like, that's what I've been really like proud of, and like, okay, this is good. Like, they've always had a response. It's not like, oh no, this game's getting away from us, and there's a panic that sets in. They haven't had that. And I truly feel this way, that I don't recall a time this season where I felt like everyone was on the same page more than they are right now.
Yeah.
And they're all talking to each other, and it's not one of those things where they don't talk about what's going on. Like, we have to get that 8th seed. They're talking about that. And I love that they are honest about it rather than be like, we don't even think about it. We're just going out and we're thinking about our next opponent. No, but like, there is a goal here. And I think it was Deni I asked the other night, when you guys play, it was after the Clippers game. I said, when you guys play like this, like what can you get accomplished in the postseason? He had a great answer. Like, we're not just here to get to in the playoffs. We want to get some things done. We want to like show that how far we've come. And I loved that answer. It wasn't just like, well, we're just excited to be in the play-in.
Yeah.
That's not it at all. Like, he's like, this is my favorite team I've ever played on. Everyone is dialed in. We all have goals here, and it just feels like everyone is. I'm repeating myself, but on the same page. Like, everyone is in the same mindset. They have the same approach, and it just feels like very simpatico. Like, everyone is like, we got that. We know what we got to do, and we're gonna get it done. And I have not felt this as confident in this team at a time this season as I do right now.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because they have upped their level of play as of late. They strike me much more like the team that they were in the first couple weeks of the season before everyone got injured. And, they're playing kind of a similar style. They've really done a good job of limiting their turnovers as of late, because that has been kind of the biggest issue for this team this year is turnovers. So they've been able to limit that while still being able to do the things that they've had success with this season, particularly second chance points.
Yes.
They won that game versus the Clippers while shooting 31% from three. And a lot of times for this team, it's like if they're not shooting threes well, and they're the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA this season in terms of percentage, that they have a hard time sometimes getting those games, but they were able to do it in that game versus the Clippers because they turned the ball over only 13 times, which, 13 is still more turnovers than you'd like, but they had 3 fewer turnovers than the Clippers. And as long as they're not turning the ball over 15, 20 times, they have the talent to get wins versus any team if they're playing good basketball. And so they shouldn't be satisfied with just making the play-in. They have a very good, if they can get into the playoffs. I mean, the matchup versus the Thunder or the Spurs, either one of those is going to be incredibly tough if they're able to get there. But you got to get there to have a chance, and then who knows what happens.
We've had some games that we were not in any way, shape, or form supposed to win this season.
The Pacers were not supposed to make the finals last year. And if things break a little bit different for them, they might have a championship right now.
We handed OKC their first loss of the season.
Yeah, we got the juice. Exactly. We did that.
Yeah, we did that. That's us. But it's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, when like I mentioned, when the team comes together and they're like kind of rolling at the same time, it couldn't ask for better timing than right now. And you never know what's going on with other squads. Obviously, San Antonio is a very talented team. They have Wemby is ridiculous, but it could be your night. It could be one of those nights where we've seen it, where we had the best 3-point shooting night of the season, like out of nowhere, like the team couldn't miss from 3. And let's say that they have a couple of those nights. It's just possible. Yeah. It's just possible. Like it's sports. Like anything could happen. And especially if they're all dialed in together and they're, they have the same goal. I just really hope, I would love obviously to get the win over Phoenix and just get it over with and then just start planning for the first round. That would be ideal. But I wouldn't put it past them to, if that does not happen, to still bring it the next game. And then our first round playoff would just be, I can't even, I'm so excited about this, the possibility of it.
Yeah, no. And just to lay it out in case you don't know, if the Blazers win versus the Suns in Phoenix on Tuesday, they will be the 7th seed, and they will face the San Antonio Spurs, the 2 seed. If they don't win that game, they come back to Portland, and they will host the winner of the 9-10 matchup, which will either be the Clippers or the Warriors, at Moda Center on Friday. So you're exactly right, Brooke. It'd be great if they could win that game versus the Suns and just punch their ticket into the 2026 playoffs. But if not, they still have a chance back at home. That will be an incredibly fun game. One game to win it all.
Which is why we wanted that 8th seed so badly.
Which is why you wanted the 8th seed so badly. Exactly. Yeah. The difference between 8th and 9th improves your chances of making the playoffs considerably.
I think it's double.
That would make sense because you only have to win once in order, when you're 7-8, you have to win twice if you're 9-10, and if you lose once, if you're 9-10, you're out.
I believe I think Tom said like 60% when you're the 8 and 30% when you're the 9.
Yeah, and I think that's historically maybe kind of how that's played out. So yeah, you'd love to get that one versus the Suns and just nip that in the bud. If not, you still got another chance at home where you've been rather successful as of late. And you're exactly right, Brooke. I feel like everyone is playing probably their best basketball this season right now. So Toumani Camara, had a tough shooting night versus the Clippers, but still impacted the game. He's been really good as of late.
Yes.
Deni is looking like he's kind of getting back to what we saw before he had the back injury.
Oh, he's there.
He's playing really good basketball right now. Jrue is playing his best basketball of the season easily, and as we talked about in the last show, just calm and collected and just kind of not being rattled. We talk about it in the press conference, but he's like that on the court too. That's just kind of the way he is. Scoot, who has been starting in place of Jeremy, has been doing a really good job as of late. It really seems like he's starting to build a little bit of rhythm and momentum, and he's incredibly excited for the opportunity to play in the postseason and potentially the playoffs. Kris Murray, Matisse Thybulle, Robert Williams III have been fantastic as of late. Matisse hurting his foot in that game versus the Clippers, and then coming back and playing again, both in the Clipper game and then in the Kings game. Rob leading the NBA this season in blocks as a reserve. Kris Murray has, again, really kind of distilled his game down to its best parts and is making plays and doing what he needs to do in order to really give that bench unit a different look and a different profile from the starters. It just seems Shaedon Sharpe returning and really looking good in his return gives him that scoring pop that I think they need. Shaedon's a guy who, if the offense bogs down a little bit, he probably, as much as anyone on the team, proficient at getting his own shot, particularly in the playoffs, if you're able to get there, particularly in a one-game playoff, which they're playing on Tuesday. You need guys like that who, if other guys don't have it going through the flow of the offense, it's like, hey, Shaedon, get us a bucket here, man. Jrue can do that, but I think Shaedon, with his athleticism, he's obviously fresh from not having played for the last couple months of the season. He's already rounding into form. I think, again, guys like City, when they're called upon, have played well. It just seems like everyone is doing, and gosh, Donovan Clingan. How could I forget Donovan Clingan having a fantastic second season, really proving himself to be a cornerstone of this franchise on both sides of the ball. Everyone expected Donovan to be a great defensive player, and he is, but his offense has come around, I think, a lot faster than a lot of us assumed it would. He's a double-double guy every single night.
By halftime.
Has shown, the stats would say, too, that Donovan is one of the guys who does when opposing offensives see Donovan in the paint, he stops them from going into the paint. The numbers have shown that, the willingness of teams to drive when Donovan is in that area is significantly less than when he's not in that area. So he's already made huge strides in his second season.
And he's doing a great job of not fouling. At the beginning of the season, he had some issues with that, and I know that was a focus of his, defend without fouling. And in my opinion, he's leaps and bounds where he defends going straight up, or he's going to get, just because of his size, he's going to get.
He had one the other night where he was trying to do no, I was straight up, and I was like, dude, come on, man. You weren't. But,
in your mind you are, but when you're in the moment, I'm sure he thought he was.
Donovan's one of those guys. He can't help himself.
He can't.
He just, it's not his way to
No, and I love
think
that
clearly when he's out there.
And I never want him to change ever. No, I love his the edge that Donovan brings. He's a winner, so he hates to lose, and I love that about him, and never want it to change. But Donovan is just and I talked with Michael on the post game show just the other night, that you just expect that from him. And I don't want to say you take it for granted, but you kind of do, where you're like, of course he's going to have a double-double. But he is the driving force behind the second chance points. He is leading that charge.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about that, we really need to give credit where it's due, and that is to DC, because he's the one, for the most part, a lot of it, creating the second chance points, the opportunity to. And we saw a lot of that in the Sacramento Kings game. But you're right. The bench is Kris Murray. He's just so I don't even know the term, but he is out there he's almost robotic in a way, he's doing the right thing every single time. What's the right thing to do? He goes and does it. And he's there before, the couple of putbacks he had the other night. I'm just happy for him, because he is hitting his stride right at the right point, and he's steady Eddie. We talk about Jrue being like that all the time, but Kris Murray has just been someone you just depend on. You can count on him, and I love that for him. And then Rob is just a spark plug. I just love watching him play, and he's been awesome. He's exactly what I think fans hoped he would be, with that experience, with just coming in and picking up the slack right away and causing havoc down there. And I just love that. And you're right. Everyone is just kind of in their zone right now. Mm-hmm. And when that all comes together, who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen? And so I think that they're in the best place they could be for this game against Phoenix. And I'm really excited just to see how they show up, I know they're dialed in, but just that the beginning of the game, that's what I want to see. I'm excited to see how they start the game off, what kind of zone they're in, and I think it's going to just be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just real pumped about it.
And that is a good question too, Brooke, because as I think a lot of people realize, when you look at Portland's roster, very little playoff experience on the roster. You've got Jrue, who obviously has won a couple championships. You got Rob, who I believe won a championship with the Boston Celtics, and obviously was a mainstay of those Celtics teams that always, went deep into the Eastern Conference playoffs. But other than that, I'm assuming Matisse has played in a few playoff games when he was with the 76ers.
That's about it.
That's about it. Toumani Camara, never. Deni Avdija, never. Donovan Clingan, never. Scoot Henderson, never. Chris Murray, never. Young Hansen, obviously, never. Caleb, never. Veet maybe at some point in time, maybe it was when Oklahoma City. Blake with the Spurs, no. Shaedon, no. City, no.
Yeah.
So, that is a TBD. How are they going to respond in their first taste of postseason basketball, which everyone always talks about how it's different, throughout the course of an 82-game season, teams don't generally play every possession. In fact, not generally. They don't play every possession. The Blazers, I think, are benefited a little bit because they've had to really be at their best in order to make the play-in. So I think they're entering it, as I mentioned, like with a little bit of an edge already as it is.
That Clippers game felt like a playoff game to me. It
does. But both Clippers games felt like a playoff game. I would even say the Nuggets game felt like a playoff game.
It did.
But those aren't playoff games.
I know. But I'm agreeing with you that they're getting the best experience they can leading up to the
without it being an actual playoff game. So the question will be kind of how much has this run that they've been on the last month of the season, how much has that prepared them for these guys again getting their first ever real taste of postseason basketball? And guys like Jrue and guys like Rob will be very helpful in that, but everyone's got to go out and perform. And so, they'll be going up against a Suns team that, again, is not exactly like a stalwart regular playoff team either, but guys who have had more experience in the postseason than the Trailblazers have had. So I think that will be the big question for this team is, particularly at the start, how ready are they to go? Are they able to meet whatever level the Suns are going to be at, particularly playing at home? They're going to have a lot of juice and a lot of enthusiasm in that building. Can the Blazers match that? And really, matching it is not enough. You need to exceed it when you're the road team, especially. And how will they react in those first moments? Because I think you're going to find a whole lot out about this team, about how prepared they are to potentially make the playoffs in the first 2-3 minutes of that game. Will the Suns come out and punch first? And how will the Blazers take that? Will they have an opportunity to score early and kind of get their feet under them? Because sometimes, particularly when you're playing in a big game on the road, sometimes the home team kind of jumps out on you, and like, how prepared are you for that? And can you steady yourself? And so like, hey guys, we're okay. Like we just gotta keep playing. Runs are going to happen. Leads are going to happen. We're just going to have to endure these things. We got to keep playing. We can't get discouraged. Those are things that you will find out about this team early. And heck, maybe it goes the other direction too. Maybe the Blazers jump out, and they've done that this season as well. Are they able to sustain that? Are they able to keep that level and not let there be some kind of letdown's not the right word, but will they get too confident almost to be like, hey, if this is going well, like this is what the playoffs are like, this no big deal. Those questions will get answered rather quickly.
Yeah.
And it will go a long way to deciding whether or not they're able to win that game versus the Suns and, again, punch their ticket to the playoffs the first night of the play-in. So let's go ahead and talk real fast about the games that the Blazers have played versus the Phoenix Suns this year. And I think the first thing that kind of jumps out at you, the Suns winning the season series 2-1. So they only played 3 times this year. 2 of those at Moda Center, if I'm not mistaken, and 1 in Phoenix. Am I right about that? I believe I am.
We've only been to Phoenix once, yeah.
We've only been to Phoenix once, and that was the game that they won. I think the first thing you notice is, of those 3 games, neither team has had all of their players available in any of those games. So the first matchup let me get the schedule back up. I did this thing where I pulled up all the box scores, but you obviously can't see which box score is which, so then I end up looking around, and that doesn't help.
That doesn't help.
No. So the Blazers lose the first matchup 127-110 versus the Suns at Moda Center on November 18th. And in that game, Brooklyn, the Portland Trailblazers did not have Jeremy Grant or Jrue Holiday or Scoot Henderson, obviously, because that was early in the season. That was early on when both Jrue and Jeremy went out, so I think they were still kind of trying to get their feet underneath them in that one. And if I recall, too, that game, like that, I mean, they lost by 17, but I don't know. So it was a close first quarter, and the Blazers got outlegged in the second half, which I think we saw that kind of early on in the season. So the Blazers didn't have a lot of their players in that one, while the Suns did. The second matchup versus the Phoenix Suns was later on in the season on February 3rd. Trailblazers losing that one as well at Moda Center. That one 130-125, February 3rd at Moda Center. And in that game, the Trailblazers were without Deni Avdija, who that was when he was having the lower back issue. And that was a closer game. The Suns jumped out on the Trailblazers, outscored them 41-30 in the first quarter. Trailblazers pushed back, the Blazers were up 41-30 in the first quarter. Suns pushed back, and then the Suns go on in the third quarter and outscore the Trailblazers by 12 to kind of take control of that game. That's very similar to the way the first game went as well. So the Trailblazers maybe needing to remind themselves, like, hey, coming out of the half, we really need to kind of be on top of things. We need to bring a certain level of energy and focus, because we've had issues with that versus this Suns team before. And then the Blazers getting the last matchup of the season, 92-77, February 22nd in Phoenix. Thing about that game, however, the Suns were without both Devin Booker and Dillon Brooks in that one, and that was like right after those guys got injured too, so they hadn't really even had time to kind of figure out how they were going to play. Blazers have gotten roasted this year by both Colin Gillespie and what's his name? The guy who looks like the guy. The guy who looks like the guy from Duke.
The guy who looks like the guy? I
mean, he looks like Ted Cruz.
Oh, oh God! Oh, if you wouldn't have asked me,
this is the
always kills us.
This is stuff you only get on this podcast, by the way, too.
He used to play for. Oh my God!
I know. We were just talking about this, Brooke.
I know we were.
Grayson Allen.
The thorn in everyone's side.
Yeah, no, the NBA's bad boy, if you will. Yeah, Colin Gillespie in that 130-125 game
Cruz.
In the second matchup, 30 points for Colin Gillespie, 10-17 shooting from the field, 8-14 from three. You can't let that happen versus the Trailblazers in that play-in game. So, again, kind of one close game that the Suns won, one blowout that the Suns won, and then one blowout that the Trailblazers won.
So it's kind of hard to take anything from on
It's really difficult. And the blowout that the Trailblazers experienced was early on in the season. The last game between the two games that the Blazers won was after the All-Star break, but again, versus the Suns in Phoenix when they really didn't have a whole lot of their guys. So really, really hard to know kind of exactly what to take out of that one. I think, the top end is you got to figure out how you're going to deal with Devin Booker, who is obviously one of the NBA's most talented offensive players. But then you also really need to make sure that you are not letting guys like Dillon Brooke and Mark Williams, who also had a really good game against this Blazers team, really get going. And, when you get down to their bench, they've got some talent there, but I think the way that Portland's bench is playing right now, I think you feel good about their chances in that matchup. But you really need Deni to be at his best. You really need Jrue to be at his best. And I think Donovan is maybe kind of the X factor in this one too, because, they don't necessarily play with a lot of kind of big back to the basket centers. Mark Williams is a big center, but he is also a guy too who, he can kind of drift a little bit here and there. So that's an interesting matchup for Donovan, but I think that not a ton to take out of any of those games. So really almost a clean slate for both teams in terms of figuring out, like, how are we going to attack these guys? What are we going to do? The Suns under first-year head coach Jordan Ott have been, again, another team that I think a lot of people weren't expecting to be as good as they were. And they had a whole host of injuries this season as well. So a very good team that is obviously looking to get back to the postseason. And it should be interesting, and they haven't had a ton to play for in the last couple weeks. I think they've been able to, I wouldn't say coast, but they've had
a holding on that spot.
It's been unlikely that they were going to fall out of 7th for some time. They still had a chance to maybe pop up into 6th to avoid the play-in altogether, but that also seemed a little unlikely. So you kind of look at what they've been doing the last couple weeks of the season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. So 5-5 in their last 10. Orlando, Charlotte, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles, Oklahoma City, Memphis. The Oklahoma City game was how they finished off their season, but Oklahoma City didn't play any of their players, and it's looking like maybe the Suns didn't play a lot of their guys either. So, they're coming in this game a little bit different than the Blazers. They obviously a very good team. They did a lot of their best work earlier on in the season, and they've been doing what they've needed to do in order to get to the play-in. But again, not exactly a lot of super sharp games as of late. So I think that's maybe an advantage there for the Blazers that they've been playing kind of really important games.
They're rolling right now.
Right,
and
exactly.
Then Phoenix is going to have to be like, okay, let's try to remember how we were playing like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think if you're Portland, that's definitely like one of the things you're like, boy, if we can kind of jump on them early, maybe they can kind of get out and give ourselves a good chance to get that one. So yeah, I think it's obviously going to be a really interesting matchup. As I mentioned, Devin Booker is really kind of the guy who you need to figure out what you're going to do about him. Dylan Brooks is a guy who, again, like, he's kind of crazy, but like he has really shown himself to be successful. Like he's the right kind of guy in the playoffs. Like I think, during the regular season, I think it kind of ebb and flow, but you kind of need that edge guy in the playoffs. So he's obviously going to be really important. They have a lot of really good defenders. Ryan Dunn, a very good defender. Obviously, Dylan Brooks, a very good defender. Rasheer Fleming, a very nice defender. Osho Ighodaro has been one of the surprises of their team as at that center position. A guy who actually the Blazers looked at in the pre-draft as well. So it's a team that matches up well with each other too. I just think that they're pretty evenly matched teams. And, the Suns have 45 wins, so, they finished with 3 more wins than the Blazers. And again, I don't know exactly what their priorities have been in the last couple weeks of the season, if they were prioritizing more kind of health. But either way, like, it just seems to me like 2 teams that are kind of in similar spots, kind of trying to take that next step. I think the Suns may be a little further along in that process, but not that much further along. And so I think that, that game on Tuesday night, I'm really hoping it's going to be a good one, because it seems like the stage has been set for a very competitive, dynamic, interesting game where 2 teams are really, again, looking to kind of do more than I think a lot of people thought they would at the start of the season. The Blazers, if they win that game, I mean, if you were like, hey, the Blazers are going to finish the season 7th and make the postseason, that would be, and if you told me at the beginning of the year, I'd be like, boy, that's a great season for this team. So a chance to really do something this year and really, I think, put themselves on a solid footing this year and maybe giving themselves a chance to do something in the playoffs this year, but also setting themselves up for subsequent seasons where I think people, the expectation is if they're able to kind of get Dame back and then to kind of put the team together in a particular way going into this offseason, who's to say what next season might do, particularly if you are able to get these guys some really good experience and, heck, maybe do something this season in the playoffs. So that game on Tuesday, Brooke,
big one.
A huge one, the biggest game for the Trailblazers in some time.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. I will not say I wish I was covering it, but I do. But I'm really excited, just like I mentioned, to see like how they come out and just where their heads are at. And I know that everyone is just there's an excitement in the air. And I love that our last 2 games were in Moda because it was obviously Fan Appreciation Day is always our last game. And it was just, I had so many conversations with fans about like, this is just so exciting. Like, this is like, we love this team. We we were so like supportive of all these guys, and this is a feeling we haven't had for a while. And so I love that the fan base gets that right now, and I feel the same way. Like it's the unknown. Also, as you mentioned, like it's that. In my opinion, that's anybody's game against Phoenix.
I completely agree, and I feel like I'm a pretty objective person when it comes to this team, and like I really do feel like it's a coin flip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm pumped about it. I can't wait to watch and cheer them on. And if they can get that one in Phoenix, I will sleep well that night.
Yeah, I also think too, just to talk about Devin Booker again real fast. It seems like the Blazers are a very good team to be able to take on a team with a guy like Devin Booker, because you got Jrue, you got Toumani.
Matisse.
You got Matisse. You got Kris. You got Blake Wesley. Like they have guys to throw at him. I'm curious if they try to come out and just do the 94 feet the entire time, deny the catch. I mean, because the Suns are a talented team. They have talent. They don't have anyone offensively other than Devin Booker, who I think really jumps off the page for you. And so if they're able to limit him, I think that the Blazers offensively maybe have more talent. So if you can limit a guy like Devin Booker, which is no small task, but if you can, you really give yourself a chance.
Look what we did against Kawhi.
That's very true. And in back-to-back games, like I mean, you're not going to stop him, but you can slow him down a little bit, and they managed to do that.
Jrue stymied him in the first half.
Absolutely.
And you just mentioned Jrue, so I mean, you automatically think of Toumani, I believe, when you think of like who can slow that guy down. Don't sleep on Jrue. And Matisse comes in. He's been just out of this world, Matisse. I just don't know how he does what he does. But, yeah, if you can just like kind of contain him a little bit and force their other players to have to produce offensively, that's a great game plan right there. And I think it's very possible.
Yeah. Dylan Brooks has been really good as of late, too.
Yeah,
again, a guy who, he probably doesn't get the credit he deserves because he acts a certain way, like you get a reputation, but again, you need guys like that. Like those guys, particularly in the playoffs, they can kind of up your level. Like when you have guys like that who, are willing to kind of be that dude, like that can get you to a certain place. So. Boy,
I'll let you take that one.
That's going to be fun. Yeah. Well, he's an Oregon Duck too, and I have a love-hate relationship with Oregon Duck basketball, but I just think that he's not a guy. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves because he can be kind of a jerk. But sometimes jerks get the job done. So
jerk store.
Yeah. Running out of you. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Blazers Balcony, presented by our friends at Spirit Mountain Casino. Thank you so much to Spirit Mountain Casino, but more importantly, thank you to everybody out there who has been listening to both Brooke and I blabber for the entire season and then some. We really appreciate your listenership. And we appreciate when you stop us either home or away and let us know you listen. It means a lot. We always tell each other. It really does, yeah. Casey always tells me when someone says something to him, I do the same. So it means a lot, and that's why we keep doing it. Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll have cause to do more. I hope so. Like if the Blazers can get one of these next two games, hopefully the first, and if not the first, hopefully the second. Then you probably get more of Brooke and I, and if lucky not, you guys, then, you're just gonna have to start your off season without hearing us again talk about the potholes in. Hey, we did we talked mostly basketball. Hey, this is our best one. This is one of our most elite basketball podcasts. Exactly. Well, I mean, we stayed on topic. I'll say that, which we can always say. Yeah. Well, and again, when the team's playing better, it's easier to talk about basketball. Totally. When the team's not playing so well, sometimes you gotta go deeper into the well to talk about to Bravo. Find the content. I haven't even talked about Scamanda. So yeah, I just want to say too that this new scandal is BS. Like it's not. What do you mean? It doesn't have the juice. It's not as big as Scandal. And it feels to me like it's like trying to create a scandal for the scandal's sake. Because I also saw someone was like the New York Post had posted like whatever that guy and whatever them, and he was like carrying his shoes out of her apartment or something like that. And I saw so many people be like, I have no idea who these people are. Well, with the Scandival, that would not be true. People know who like they were. I feel like they at least had some lineage.
Yeah.
These two, to me, as someone who doesn't watch any of these shows and knows absolutely nothing, so I'm talking completely out of my buns right now for the most part. But they strike me as more like newbies in this world, and like, do you really have that much like invested in these people at this point in time? Like,
Summer House has been on for a decade. Okay. Vanderpump Rules obviously much longer, so that had more eyeballs on it. So, and that was probably more shocking. I am a big Summer House person, so I it's still big to me. But I understand it's not on this. I will agree, it's not on the same level as Scandival. But as someone who is intimately aware of these people and their lives, it is jarring to me because obviously Team Sierra, Amanda did her girl dirty, and also her still husband. They're not divorced yet, and it's to me it's a big deal. I will agree again. It's not as big as Scandival, but it's up there. It's up there. But I understand that not a lot of people have the same awareness of it as the one before.
Again, it just seems to me like this feels more like a content play to me. Like more, it's like, hey, well,
I understand where you're coming from, but it's not, because she's fumbled like 10 times with her PR staff to try to like get back in people's good graces, and she puts these posts up on like her stories, like, I just want to again say I'm so sorry to anyone I hurt. And the most recent one was horrible. She said, for my mental health, but this is the craziest part. She said, for my mental health, I'm going to try to get back out there. You might see me out and about or posting online. That doesn't mean I don't care anymore, and just trying to find some normalcy. That night she went out in New York with West. So it's essentially she was and the pictures of her everywhere at some.
So she's saying for her mental health, she's going to post
yes,
more on. So yeah,
yes.
Come on. And that I think that kind of speaks a little bit to what I'm saying, because no one in their right mind would be like, hey,
I need to get back online.
Being on social media, that's where that's what
I'm saying.
That's what makes you feel really good about yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so and it even adds to my my opinions on that.
All right, well, I won't go into a deep, dark rabbit hole.
No, I mean, this is the only way I know this stuff.
Yeah, no, offline I tell Casey everything about that.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't even know if you want me to do that, but I do it anyways.
I like to know. I like to have a little toe in the zeitgeist. Like, I'm not going to go find these things out myself, but yeah, if you could keep me apprised.
I will.
So,
I will.
If I'm talking to someone who's younger, I'm like, oh yeah, boy,
the kids,
the Summer House, like, which also too, it's like, yeah, I guess if you've been watching it for a decade, like people who are 20, maybe you're not watching it. So.
Well, I mean, Kyle is almost 50. That's her husband.
Kyle
Cook, her husband, that she did.
So these people are 50 living with each other in a house during the summer?
Yeah, that's the whole thing people talk about. Yeah. Well, he's the oldest one, but
that's too old to be living with people.
He's like 46, I think.
Yeah, I'm 46 in like 2 weeks. That's too old to be living with people on a television show. Come on.
I know. And he dresses up for theme parties and all that stuff. And he's a DJ.
I won't. A few years ago, I wouldn't say made fun, but I was like, some arena, their DJ was like an older gentleman, and I was like, I kind of feel like DJing, like it's kind of a younger person's game. And I had people be like, "How dare you?"
It's an older person's game now.
I guess.
Like Meredith from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is a DJ, and she's got kids who are in their late 20s.
I saw Christina Hendricks was DJing.
Yeah, and Paris Hilton is like one of the most successful DJ, and she's got 2 kids.
She's doing something.
Well, she's Paris Hilton.
Putting on a playlist.
Yeah, I don't even know how you DJ, but I mean physically, like I don't know what you do, but they just look like they're busy, but I don't know exactly.
I think looking like you're busy is a lot of what the DJ business is.
On that note,
especially when it comes to celebrity DJs. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us once again. Tuesday, 7 p.m., Amazon Prime. Portland Trailblazers, the 8 seed, versus the Phoenix Suns 7 seed for the opportunity to face the 2 seed Spurs. Winner of that game moves on to the postseason to face San Antonio. The loser of that game will host a game versus the winner of the 9-10 matchup. If that is the Trailblazers, that will be at Moda Center on Friday.
Ooh.
So hopefully we'll be talking to you next about the Trailblazers making the playoffs. If not, maybe we'll talk about the play-in, or at least I'll maybe talk about it on that other thing I do. Mm-hmm. But until then, you've been great. Thank you so much.
I love you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Peace out.